So hello everyone, magandang umaga or hapon po sa inyong lahat. So nandito na naman po kayo sa aking YouTube channel. This is Ma'am Nerissa Beatriz, and today I'm going to discuss about 2020 online and self-guided PFA modules. So just stay tuned so that you will be able to learn how to conduct PFA or psychological first aid to your students. So let me share my slide now. So ito yung mismo pong module ng PFA. If I can remember it right, there was this DepEd Order number 12, Series 2020, or the adoption of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan for school year 2020-2021 in light of the COVID-19 public health emergency. And enclosed in this DepEd order is the provision on the psychological first aid among our learners. Kaya importante na meron po tayong alam sa psychological first aid. Kaya kami po sa Perpetual Help National High School po ay nagbigay ng modules, ng PFA modules sa aming mga estudyante. Kung inyo pong makikita, nandyan po yung mga authors ng atin pong psychological first aid modules, and then also the acknowledgement portion and the table of contents where you can see the introduction, the rationale, the objectives, and the guidance notes for the user. And also enclosed here is the foreword of our DepEd Secretary Leonor Magpolis Briones. Nakalagay po dyan ang kahalagahan ng mental health and psychosocial support services to our learners, especially in this time of pandemic. So let me state to you the message of our DepEd Secretary. So the COVID-19 pandemic has brought massive challenges to the education sector. Physical classes in the previous school year, 2019-2020, were discontinued. National events were canceled, and the opening of classes for school year 2020-2021 has been adjusted. The need for community quarantine and physical distancing have resulted to dramatic changes in the lives of our learners and personnel, triggering worry, fear, anxiety, all manifestations of stress, which are all normal given the new normal situation we find ourselves in. Amidst all this, the Department of Education is shouldering on and helping our stakeholders face this brave new normal. As I have affirmed many times, in every aftermath of a disaster or emergency, learning must continue because education cannot wait. Now, in this noble mission, the department has been responding to the current challenges by preparing our learners, teachers, and parents in this new normal education. Sa paghahanda upang ipagpatuloy ang edukasyon, maglalaan ang kagawaran ng angkop na proteksyon at gagawa ng mabisang aksyon para sa ating mga kabataan at kababayan. So aside from offering the different modalities for distance and home-based learning, this coming school year 2020-2021, one of our advocacies focuses on safeguarding the mental health of our learners. We must ensure that they will be able to cope with the stresses brought about by the pandemic and transition to the new normal. This is being done through the provision of mental health and psychosocial support services, or the MHPSS, to our learners, which is anchored on the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. So kung inyo pong ma-observe, ang atin pong MHPSS is also part of the BELCP. So to enable the remote provision of MHPSS to secondary learners, DepEd, through the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Service, or the DRRMS, and in partnership with the Psychological Association of the Philippines, developed the 2020 online and self-guided PFA, supplemental to the 2015 Supporting, Enabling, and Empowering Students, or the SEES manual, okay? So secondary teachers, school heads, and identified non-teaching personnel of DepEd regional and division offices will be capacitated with the help of this manual to ensure the provision of remote PFA for secondary learners on the first week of the opening of classes. Again, so as I've said, it's important na mabigyan na dapat natin ang ating mga estudyante ng proteksyon sa kanilang mga mental health. So before the start of the classes, it is imperative na magbigay po talaga tayo ng psychological first aid para ma-ready sila. So this manual is vital as we look out not only for the knowledge and skills of our learners, but also their mental health to ensure their overall wellness, especially in these trying times. Our learners may be young, but they are never spared from stress. We must let them know that their feelings are valid and that we are ready to guide and support them as they cope and eventually adjust and thrive in this new normal. So we have a challenging school year ahead, and we must be mindful that more than ever of taking care of our learners' mental well-being. Let us all be advocates for mental health so that together we can truly bridge everyone towards a brave new normal, di ba? So sama-sama tayo sa paghahanda, sama-sama tayo para sa kinabukasan ng ating mga mag-aaral. Handang isip, handang buhay. Again, so yan po ang mensahe ng atin pong DepEd Secretary, Yunor Magtoles Briones. So also, kasama din po dito ang forward ng ating Undersecretary for Administration, si Sir Alain Delby Pascua, and also our Director 4 of the RRMS, okay, si Madam Ronilda R. Ko. Let us now go to the introduction of the 2020 online and self-guided PFA modules, supplemental to the SEES manual. So ano nga po itong SEES manual? So we have supporting, enabling, and empowering students. Okay po? So let me read the introduction. So we all know that a teacher wears multiple hats. You are a teacher, a parent, a musician, a counselor, an engineer, an actor, an artist, a coordinator, an accountant, a manager, an events or coordinator, nutritionist, disciplinarian, behaviorist, mediator, doctor, and many others. So some of these roles will be put to rest for the time being as teachers shift to delivering lectures using a wide array of remote learning platforms. However, other roles will be highlighted, okay? So the events of late 2019 and early 2020 call teachers to step up and become an online educator, a master technician ready and able to address technical issues both from your end and your students' end. A voiceover talent who can keep students focused and entertained as they look through slides and presentations, and a master module maker for students who will not be able to attend online classes. So if you have been teaching for a number of years now, you know the job is ever evolving, always adapting to the challenging or to the changing needs of the time. So the work does not seem to get any easier. So the current set of public school teachers and non-teaching staff for school year 2020-2021 is likewise being tasked to conduct various psychosocial services to learners. This additional load may leave teachers feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And to put these concerns to rest, the Department of Education's Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Service, or the DRRMS, has partnered with the Psychological Association of the Philippines in order to review the content of the SEES Manual of 2015 and to provide guidance for the conduct of the modules using multiple remote learning modalities. Okay, so nagsama-sama na po ang Department of Education and also the Psychological Association of the Philippines and the DRRM para po makapag-consolidate, ayan, so para po ma-modify, ma-merge ang mga kailangan na services lamang po ng ating mga estudyante into these PFA modules. It is hoped that this 2020 online and self-guided PFA modules supplemental to the SIS manual will help ease your burden with regard to how to appropriately deliver psychological first aid to students prior to the classes or prior to the start of classes. Ayan. So makikita din po ninyo dito ang rationale ng PFA modules. So the DepEd has also announced that a week before the opening, as well as the first week of opening of classes, will be devoted entirely to the provision of psychosocial services to students or learners. Ayan. That is DepEd Order number 7, Series 2020. Ayan po. So even in this limited face-to-face, kailangan po natin na magsagawa ng psychosocial services sa atin pong mga estudyante. Pero syempre, kailangan din po na ang mga teachers natin ay mag-undergo din po ng psychosocial support. Kaya po, I already conducted a psychosocial support seminar, webinar to our teachers in Perpetual Help National High School so that they will be trained. So kasi kailangan po na, well, if you are a PFA provider, dapat po ikaw po ay trained. And I am happy na ang mga teachers po sa Perpetual Help ay naman po na marurunong na talaga po ay sila ay desidido para po sa pagbubukas ng klase natin for this school year, for this fourth quarter of 2021-2022. At first, this may be hard, but of course, since we are PFA providers, we are teachers, syempre, na andyan na kami ay talaga namang alisto, na andyan kami para sumuporta sa Department of Education sa mga programa nito. At yan, so nakasaad din po dito ang objectives ng PFA modules. So these supplemental modules and guidance notes were developed with the following objectives in mind. So for the users, po yung para sa mga teachers at sa mga non-teaching staff. So number 1 is to provide teachers and non-teaching staff with a quick reference and guide regarding the proper conduct of PFA when delivered either online and through self-guided modules. Kasi may 2 options po tayo. It's either isasagawa mo siya ng online o kaya naman ay gagamit yung mga estudyante ng self-guided modules. Siyempre, kailangan na i-print ito para maibigay rin po sa kanila. And number 2 is to equip teachers with additional skills needed in the delivery of online PFA and PFA through self-guided modules. Kasi may mga required skills rin po na dapat meron ng isang PFA provider. Later on, we will be able to know all the competencies that is required as a PFA provider. And then number 3 is to further develop the competence of the users in developing or in delivering PFA using other platforms. So since ang mga estudyante rin po natin ang talagang focus ng ating PFA, so here are also some of the objectives for them. Number 4 is to provide students with a venue by which they can discuss their fears, feelings, and anxieties. Kasi ito yung number 1 objective rin po talaga ng PFA para yung mga estudyante ay makapag-brought up ng mga issues, ayan, ma-discuss nila o maisahayag ang kanilang mga fears, ang kanilang mga hinaing, ang mga kanilang naramdaman or nararamdaman, okay, ang kanilang mga worries and anxieties habang meron po tayong pandemya. Okay? Number 5 is to enable students to manage their feelings and reframe their thoughts. Kasi nababalot sila nga ng mga pangamba. So kailangan ng mga estudyante ay may mga coping skills, ayan, may mga self-management skills or strategies to manage their feelings or reframe their thoughts. Okay? And through this psychological first aid, matutulungan po natin sila na makapagbigay tayo ng mga coping skills or strategies na pwede rin nilang magamit. Ayan. So number 6 is to empower students to look for linkages to services that could help others. Yan. So importante na alam nila yung mga networks or linkages, yung mga address, kung sino yung mga tao na dapat nilang lapitan. And then number 7 is to allow students to focus on their strengths and support systems during a fearful and worrisome time. So in other words, these supplemental modules serve to support, empower, and enable teachers to help students to move beyond the worries and fears brought about by the pandemic and help them become more active members of the society. So let me emphasize, okay, that these supplemental modules serve to support, to empower, and enable teachers to help students to move beyond the worries and fears brought about by the pandemic. Kikita niyo po yan dito ang mga konseptong yan dito po sa baba. So, ito po yung module supplemental to the SIS manual, yung mga objectives niya. Support, enable, and empower our students. Sino ang pwedeng makapagbigay ng mga ito? So we have the teaching and non-teaching staff. Kasi kasama sila sa mga mental health providers or PFA providers. Ayan. So, pero bago po tayo maging PFA provider, dapat po tayo ay trained so that you can also give assistance or support to your students. Kasi sabi nga ay, you cannot give what you do not have. So, first and foremost, dapat ang mga teaching and non-teaching staff ay talaga namang aware sa psychological first aid and some of the facilitation skills needed for them to be able to assist our students, secondary education students. So these are also the guidance notes for the user. So meron po tayong major parts. So the first part will be the overview of the changes to be expected, add-ons and revisions to the basic facilitation skills needed by users. We also have the additional information on the online PFA delivery and PFA through self-guided modules, and also the online conduct of modules 1 to 4 of the Cs. And the last will be the conduct of the self-guided modules 1 to 4 of the Cs. Let us now go to the changes to be expected, okay? So the first changes will fall on the delivery platform, which could either be online or through self-guided modules, okay? So as a teacher or non-teaching staff, the pandemic that we are now experiencing forces us to find alternative ways of delivering our lessons. Additionally, since the students are likewise experiencing the repercussions of the pandemic, there is a need to provide them with PFA in order to help them manage their emotions, reframe their thoughts, look for linkages, and focus on their strengths. So kung inyo pong mababasa, ang mga ito po ay nakalakop doon po sa atin pong mga PFA modules. So you will now be tasked to deliver PFA either online or through self-guided modules. So noong 2020 po ata, if I am right, since meron ng mandato from the Department of Education na dapat ang school ay magsagawa ng psychological report, ayan, so ang ginawa po natin ay nagbigay po talaga tayo ng mga printed materials sa ating pong mga estudyante. Ayan, so there was a time na nagpunta po kami sa mga barangay, ayan, para maibigay lang yung module na yon. 2021, as part of the guidance programs and services of the Perpetual Health National High School, Schools Division of Iriga City, I, as a guidance counselor, has conducted mental health seminar, webinars to our teachers. Recently, nag-conduct po kami ng psychosocial, ng psychological first aid po naman sa ating mga student leaders. Last February pa lang po siya, okay, of this year. And then, for this limited face-to-face sa school namin for 1 week, ang gagawin po namin ay magkasasagawa talaga kami ng kamustahan and psychological first aid muna po sa atin pong mga estudyante using the SIS manual, yung 4 modules po. Ayan. So, for those who will be delivering the modules online, you can use the guide called Online Conduct of Supplemental Modules 1 to 4 of the SIS. You will need to prepare your visuals beforehand to ensure the session remain interesting and interactive for the students. For students who do not have online access, you simply need to print out copies of the document called Conduct of Supplemental Self-Guided Modules 1 to 4 of the SIS. Please require with your division regarding the funds that may be used in order to have the supplemental modules printed. Ayan. So, meron pong role ang division. Kasi sila daw po ang magbibigay ng funds, di ba? O kaya pwede namang yung school funds. Now, the DRRMS, Downloaded Program Support Funds for IEC, printing can be used for printing, and then existing partners or local government units can also be tapped for printing when necessary. So prior to the actual conduct of the supplemental modules, user must determine the actual number of students who will be using the online platform and the number of students who will use the modular and self-directed platform of learning. So the number of copies to be printed out must be determined before the start of the school year. So ginawa rin po talaga namin ito. Sineparate namin yung mga magmo-modular doon sa pwede namang mag-online, di ba? Pero mostly talaga po ay modular yung mga estudyante. Ayan. Then we also have the updated notes on facilitation skills for both online PFA delivery and PFA through self-guided modules. So in the SIS manual developed in the year 2015, we outlined a number of skills that you must possess in order to deliver the modules successfully. So this 2020 supplement builds on that list of skills and takes into account the change in the manner of delivery of modules 1 to 4 of the SIS. Okay, so this 2020 supplement outlines the add-ons needed on the following. Number 1 will be communication skills. Second will be seeing beyond students' body language and tone. We also have time management and organization skills. We'll also have the role of the PFA providers, what PFA providers should look for. We also have managing interactions effectively and resolving technological issues. These are some of the information that you need as a PFA provider. Okay, so this will be elaborated further on the section on facilitation skills. Now, additional information on the online PFA delivery and PFA through self-guided modules. So the additional information contained in this document focuses on how the core actions of PFA are reflected on the modules 1 to 4 of the SIS. It does not aim to harm you with knowledge on PFA. So most of you have attended a PFA training or workshops as required by the department. So if you need a refresher course, please find time to watch the video on PFA posted on the online repository. And then let's go to the updated modules for both online PFA delivery and PFA through self-guided modules. Okay, so we have the script updates for modules 1 to 4 of the SIS. The word disaster daw po in the 2015 modules have been replaced with the word pandemic. So kasi nga, we are experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so the word disaster in the 2015 modules has been replaced with the word pandemic. So in cases where your locality experiencing another crisis situation other than the pandemic, for example, an earthquake or a typhoon, you can say pandemic and earthquake or coronavirus and typhoon whenever appropriate. Then we also have the modules contain portions with the instructions say or do. Okay, so these subheadings were removed and replaced with clearer step-by-step instructions for the user. And the title of Module 2 was modified from calming down and controlling one's emotions to calming down and managing one's emotions and thoughts. Okay, so these supplement to the Cs includes an updated ready for printing 2020 Cs modules 1 to 4 for learners. Okay, so we also have this one. So the revision of the activities in modules 1 to 4 of the Cs. So some of the activities from the original Cs modules 1 to 4 were revised, but most were retained. Okay, so these changes were based mainly on the delivery platform. That is, since teachers are no longer in the classroom with the student, so the newly suggested activities must be easier to implement. So the teacher in charge of running the Cs through online teaching is given the freedom to revise activities further in order to make it more culturally appropriate or relevant to the conditions in their regions or communities. So activities need to be modified if your learners have special needs, if you work with IPs or with different religious denominations. Kindly ensure that activities are still in line with the objectives set in every module. Ayan. So kabisaduhin po natin ang mga objectives ng ating mga modules, 'di ba? So pwede natin siyang i-modify, pwedeng modify yung mga activities, pero it should not be, or it should be aligned, with the objectives set in every module. Ang mga teachers ay creative naman talaga, so pwede naman i-modify ang ating mga activities as long as naandun pa rin yung objective niya, di ba? Yung objeto ay hindi nawawala sa kada module. Now for PFA through self-guided modules, so the modules and activities therein are written in a more instructional worksheet like manner. So these are to be printed out and given to the students, okay? So the students must be capable of self-directed learning in order to complete all the activities and readings in the module. So if not, they can ask assistance from their support system or more knowledgeable others. So you must instruct the learners to return all completed modules to you so that you can provide the necessary feedback to them. Okay, so if necessary, learners may need additional specialized services in order to help them cope. So the Psychological Association of the Philippines and the Philippine Guidance Counselors Association have provided you with a referral system that you can tap whenever necessary. And for online PFA delivery, the activities have been revised so that the online delivery of the modules flows smoothly and logically. So the table below outlines the changes of the activities using the two new delivery platforms. Okay? So actually yung PFA po, meron po siyang apat na modules. So we have the module 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for module 1, we have these are the original Cs. Ayan. So listing and categorizing feelings and responses. Sa Cs online naman, ang gagawin naman ng mga bata ay maggagawa sila ng pie chart or graph of emotions. O kaya doon naman sa Cs self-guided, gagawa sila ng letter writing about activities and their feelings. Okay? And for module 2, ayan. So doon sa original Cs, ang ginagawa ng mga bata or ang gagawin ng mga bata ay yung mga exercises. Okay? So meditation or breathing exercises. Pero kung doon naman sa Cs online, okay, so they will count backwards. Ayan. So we have also the sensory check and breathing exercises. And for the Cs self-guided modules, ayan. So ang activity ay tinatawag nating catch, check, change your feelings. And also, hindi mawawala ang ating mga breathing exercises. And then for module 3, we have using referral form. Okay, and then updated referral form naman para sa SIS Online, and same as with the SIS self-guided modules. And then for module 4, yan, so we have the kite or another or any other appropriate cultural or regional symbol. Yan. So ang gagawin nila ay gagawan sila ng kite and poem sa SIS Online. And same thing goes doon po sa gagamit din ng SIS self-guided module. So, as I mentioned, ay nakalagay po sa ating manual na pwede po nating modify ang ating mga activities. Ayan, as long as it does not change or as long as it is aligned with the objectives of every module. So, if necessary, online learners may need additional specialized services in order to help them cope. The Psychological Association of the Philippines and the Philippine Guidance Counselors Association have provided with a referral system that you can tap whenever necessary. Ayan, especially dun sa mga estudyante na kailangan po talaga nila ng mental health assistance. Okay, so naandyan po yung ating PAP and PGCA para mag-assist po or magbigay ng mga services na kailangan po ng ating mga estudyante if they really need to, okay? Especially if teachers sense na there's something wrong. Okay, then these are the online repository for relevant materials. So this repository created by DepEd DRRMS can be accessed sa website pong ito, and it will serve as your go-to folder in order to access any or all of the following. So, andyan po yung atin mga relevant materials. Okay? Ayan, online repository for relevant materials para sa ating gagawing PFA. So, I am now done with the discussion on some of the informations you need to know. Ano yung nakalakip sa atin pong 2020 PFA module supplemental to the SIS manual. So stay tuned for the part 2 because I will be discussing the facilitation skills required or needed by a teacher as PFA provider. Yan. So I'll be sharing to you this one. So, ito ang kailangan nyo po talagang malaman as a PFA provider. So, after watching this video, i-click lang po natin yung link dyan for the discussion of this module, part 2. Thank you very much. This is again, Ma'am Nerissa Beatriz. Thank you for watching.